Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I'm Tony DeQuano.
So, Tony, what movie comes to mind when I say Sylvester Stallone?
Rambo.
What movie comes to mind when I say Sylvester Stallone and Carl Weathers?
Rocky. Yeah. Rocky. It's Rocky.
That's right. We are doing Rocky today.
And we're actually doing it because of Carl Weathers.
Yes, we are.
We passed away recently.
Yes, so we decided to do it in his honor.
You know, we could have done Happy Gilmore.
We could have.
Could have done Predator.
We could have.
But Rocky's a good one to do.
Yep.
So, the timeless classic movie that's, over 50 years old at this point. I think it's one of those movies now that combine, granted, these other ones are even older, but truly stand a certain test of time that it's hard not to find people at any age that know the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, even
like all the sequels, people, there's images in there that kind of still stand in pop culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Even if someone's never seen the movie, they know of it. They can tell if you show a still from Rocky. If you show Stallone standing at the top of the Philadelphia Art Museum steps, cheering, they know what that movie is.
Right.
They know what that scene's from.
It's so steeped into the city of Philadelphia now. It's part of the fabric of that city. Rocky.
Yeah.
And then, there's just something about boxing movies. Like all his opponents kind of still stick in the public mind.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, whether it be memes or quick clips, on YouTube, right? I think of Ivan Drago, right?
Yeah.
Rocky IV. I don't think I've ever seen Rocky IV. I know some people that are true devotees of the entire series.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
I'm not either, but I do.
Rocky IV. If he dies, he dies. Yeah. Right? It sticks in the mind.
Now, Rocky IV is the one that I've seen the most.
I don't think they realized that when they made that movie, they were just kind of thinking of filming a type of rags to riches story. That it would become such a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. Rocky IV is the one that I've seen the most out of all of them. I think the only ones that I've actually seen all the way through from start to finish were Rocky 1 and 4. The other ones I've seen bits and pieces, enough to piece it together to have seen it an entire time, just not in one sitting.
Gotcha.
I haven't seen Rocky Balboa yet.
I have seen Rocky Balboa, actually. Because that was kind of the last of the Rocky ones before the Creed kind of reboot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing Rocky Balboa with one of our guest hosts, Tim, because he's a Philly guy. His family's a Philly, they're Philly people. Saw it together. So, I don't think I've seen it since then. I've seen the first Creed, but I have not seen the subsequent Creed movies.
Yeah. See, I've seen I've seen maybe half of the first Creed, but I haven't seen Creed 2 or 3.
I like Creed. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's an appropriate one to talk about that because it deals with the son.
Yeah. I mean, I own Rocky Balboa because I bought the set with all 6 Rocky movies a while back. So I have all the Rocky movies. I just haven't watched them all. I haven't sat down and watched them all. And with this one, the first Rocky, I didn't actually watch it all the way through until 2011, 2012, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
sitting down and watching it from start to finish.
A little bit before that, I first watched this the entire way through. And between then and then watching it recently for this podcast, I think I saw it one other time in its entirety.
I think that might have been the same with me. I think I watched it one or two more times.
That, I can say that it's not a film series that I am in love with or have a certain affinity towards. Some people do, and it's excellent, and I get that. Mm-hmm. Our roommate Steve was a big Rocky fan.
Rocky is his favorite movie.
Yeah. We had a Rocky poster in our apartment.
Yes, we did. That was his.
Yeah.
It was his Rocky poster.
And I can definitely see, and understand, I guess it's probably the better way of saying I can understand people that would list Rocky as their favorite movie.
Yeah. In fact, I reached out to Steve to see if he'd want to be a guest on this episode, but schedules don't always work out.
Schedules are tough.
So
But yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like I've seen it plenty of times, at least parts of it, because it's hard to escape it being on TV at times, right? It's, I feel like, the Rocky movies, James Bond movies, there's certain movies that, or movie series that you can find them on TV fairly frequently.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe like you see pieces of it and maybe you haven't seen the whole thing. Right. Like I could say there's especially the Roger Moore Bond movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've seen any of those from start to finish in one sitting.
Same here. I've seen bits and pieces of them. I've seen, enough of just like the Rocky movies. I've seen in enough, viewings of bits and pieces of them to be able to piece them together and have seen the whole movie, but just not in one sitting. But yeah, so yeah, the first time that I saw Rocky all the way through from start to finish in one sitting was, about 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, after I bought it and watched it shortly after that. And yeah, I only watched it like once or twice since then before watching it again for the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, Rocky 4 I've definitely seen a few times from start to finish, mostly because, it was a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon and it was on TV and there was nothing else on, so hey, let's watch Rocky 4. It's on. So, I've never been. It's never been one of those series that I've been absolutely crazy about. I mean, I have nothing wrong with the movies. They're good movies. They're enjoyable.
Yes, I had nothing wrong with them either.
I'm not one of those people who's obsessed with Rocky.
Yeah, I think the first time it really entered my consciousness, I guess, was really about Vicky Burgess-Meredith, right? So
he's had an interesting career.
A copy of Santa Claus the movie with John Lithgow and Dudley Moore. Mm-hmm. And he plays like this really ancient elf character, right? And my parents owned it on Laserdisc. And I remember probably being like 5 or so or 6 and like watching it. My dad was telling me about in the Rocky movies. But also, at that age, I would have been aware of, he was the Penguin and Batman TV series, right?
It's Batman series.
So, it's interesting. It does have an interesting career because he's played some very iconic characters.
He was also in an episode of Twilight Zone where he was the guy who loved reading and ended up being the last person left on Earth. And so he had all the time in the world to read, and he broke his glasses.
Probably one of the top 5 greatest Twilights in it.
Yes, absolutely.
Terrific episode. I think he did several episodes, but that's like the main one. Mm-hmm. The big one.
Yep.
Yeah, 4 episodes. He did 4 episodes of Twilight Zone. And then he also, I think he was the narrator for the Twilight Zone movie.
Oh, was he? Okay.
But
Rod Serling was the narrator for the Twilight Zone movie?
I'm looking at, he's uncredited for it, so. Okay. Yeah.
I guess, was Rod Serling still alive when the Twilight Zone movie came out?
He's been dead.
Okay.
That's why.
That's probably why he wasn't the narrator for
it. I guess today that kind of stopped them from police isolation. Scatman Crothers was in the Twilight Zone movie. I've never seen the Twilight Zone.
I haven't either.
Like John Landis directed that, right?
I do know that some of the cast died making it because the helicopter crashed right on top of them. Yeah, if you don't know about that incident, Google it.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, it was a quite a disaster, and But so, this is
back to Rocky, though.
This isn't a Twilight Zone episode, so it's a Rocky episode.
The movie that shot the Sylvester fame. So
yeah, which he wrote.
He wrote, and they didn't really want him in the lead because he was unknown, right? But why would you want Jack Nicholson
before this?
It's the 70s.
Before this, all he had done was porn.
But it would not serve the story because he needed someone that looked like he could be living rough. Mm-hmm. As a failed boxer on the streets of Philadelphia,
which Stallone looked like that. Stallone, he fit that profile. And this movie was
his
such
reveal. Mm-hmm. Roger Ebert in his review was he said he reminded him of a young Brando, right? The Brando one of his first roles was on the waterfront, where he's just playing a dock worker essentially, and a blue collar guy, and it's sometimes I get Stallone's not the most talented actor in the world, but he fits the Rocky character really well, especially in this one.
Yeah, he does. And this movie was so successful that the porno that he starred in before changed its name Party at Kitty and Studs to the Italian Stallion.
But I think it's the interesting thing about the movie, right? And they reference it several times, right? Because he's the white guy, right? Italian Stallion, right? At this point it's the 1970s, so he's probably really more the grandson of immigrants, right?
Yeah.
But then he's fighting a black man, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's celebrated as the most famous boxer, greatest boxer in the world at that point. And older viewers will understand this. Younger viewers may not. But at one time, boxing was huge.
Yeah. Yes.
In this country.
Yes.
Like, football is easily the most popular sport right now.
Yep.
Right?
But there was a time when it was boxing.
Yeah. At one time, it was just like baseball and boxing. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and I think, a big part of that is easy enough to kind of see the people the famous guys really did have like these humble kind of rough beginnings, right? You know, and even at that, like they become like really famous, and people still really gravitated towards them, like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. So, which
Joe Frazier had a cameo in Rocky in this movie.
He did. So that's kind of a good background to have in mind if you haven't seen Rocky.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't seen Rocky,
yes,
I was about to say,
if you haven't seen Rocky,
there will be spoilers.
Yes, spoiler alerts. If you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen, because we are going to be talking about every bit of this movie, beginning, middle, and end. So you have been warned. If you don't mind spoilers, keep on listening. So what struck me watching it, because it's been a few years and I've seen it, is that it definitely has a 70s aesthetic to it, right? Yeah, it does.
And, especially 70s, urban 70s aesthetic, I should say.
Yes.
Right? Because you can watch other movies at the 70s that might take place more like in the suburbs, right?
Although if this movie had taken place, like if it was made 10 years later, then in those scenes at the beginning when Rocky's walking around Philly, interacting with all the urban kids, all the kids out on the stoop and all that stuff, if it was made 10 years later, he'd be breakdancing with them.
Yeah, he would. But you get the sense that it's a very working class area of Philadelphia. Yeah, and it's interesting. I live in Baltimore, and I see pictures of Baltimore kind of from that time era. You get the sense of where this is. Even like the downtown being very different. You get into the 90s, city downtowns become slightly different than they were in the 70s. It's not the Julia Roberts, New York, or downtowns that you see in some of the romantic comedies of, the late 20th century. Yeah. I think, Taxi Driver, Warriors, and Midnight Cowboy, some of these other movies that take place in the city in the 70s. Yeah. Right? It definitely has that vibe, but at the same time, there's a full, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it definitely carries a heavy kind of,
there's,
I guess in terms of tone,
there's a realness to it.
Yeah, there's a realness to it, and like it also kind of has like an older vibe as well. Maybe that's the boxing aspect of it coming through, right? Yeah, I don't know. I could see this being a movie made in the early 40s as well. Yeah, and kind of being kind of resonant in the same way. But yeah, I think towards what you're saying, like because of the being filmed on location, it gives it that edge, and even like the actors just bring it in so well, right? Yeah. Whether it be Talia Shire or Burt Young, even some of like the background people in like the bars or in the boxing clubs, right? Yeah, the people in the stoops. It's well cast. This movie is very well cast. Mm-hmm. And it gets back, like, they didn't want Talia Shire at first, right? They want Susan Sarandon and Cher both auditioned. Huh. I think it's hilarious. I think they made the right choice with Talia Shire. Susan Sarandon was deemed too pretty for the character. Now that had to make Talia Shire feel great. Cher was too expensive. Cher was too ugly. So at least she wasn't as ugly as I don't know. Yeah. It'd be pretty damning to hear that Cher is pretty. Yeah. anyway. Yeah, no, she's perfect for it, and obviously,
she plays that shy, introverted character so well.
Yep, she was. I mean, people have known her from the Godfather movies at that point. She was somewhat of a known commodity, but she's really in the background in the Godfather movies. This is a much bigger role for her, and they have the shyness, and she's shy, but she's strong.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, she comes out of her shell during the course of the movie.
Yep,
and she gets to the point where basically, at the beginning, she's so shy that Rocky, as much as he cares about her, is sort of walking all over her.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the movie, she's telling him what's what. So
yeah, and then Burt Young's her brother, and
Paulie.
Mentioned Paul Ruthers, and did he do anything? What was he in before? I knew he played some football, but which is why he's kind of a good choice to play a boxer, right?
Yes,
he's athletic, and
not just any boxer, but the top boxer.
Yes,
the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I didn't realize this. He's got an on-credit role in Magnum Force.
Oh.
So, but no, this is really like his kind of first headlining role in the movie.
Yeah. And then, of course, after this, he'd go on to do Predator.
Yeah.
And
Happy Gilmore. He's also, I know he was in Arrested Development.
Yeah. And he was in The Mandalorian.
Yes.
He was great in The Mandalorian.
He was in the Sasquatch Gang.
Yes, he was. He was in the Sasquatch Gang, which has another title, the Sasquatch Dumpling Gang. Yeah. Same movie. But yeah, he was the cryptozoologist, the Sasquatch expert who tasted animal dung.
Interesting. I've never seen it.
To tell that it was a Sasquatch. Interesting movie.
An episode of Starsky and Hutch, which makes you want to try to find an episode of Starsky and Hutch.
When he and Arnold greet each other in Predator. And they do their little handshake and then just flex on each other.
I always when you isolate that clip for Predator, it makes you think, oh, this is a happy movie.
Yeah.
If you just saw that clip, you had no idea anything else around it. No,
yeah.
It's not a happy movie. But he's terrific in this role. And
yes, he is.
The other thing I kind of liked about it, though, is it's kind of the authenticity of it, the realism of it. But, it's a rag to riches type movie, and it's a little larger than life in a lot of aspects of it. But it never feels overly saccharine or sweet. It all feels earned, so to speak. But what's funny about his character in this is you can buy him as being super athletic, but you don't really get a lot of scenes where you get to really get that sense of him being super athletic, right?
Yeah.
You don't get his training stuff, and all his focus on is the promotion of it, right? Which I guess there's a certain cynical take on the boxing world of the '70s, right? Where you're promoting things, it's also about earning the money as opposed to necessarily just about the fight, right? Boxing is an individual sport, right? It's not football, basketball, baseball, soccer.
Yeah, there's not really a team involved.
And then, it's different in other individual sports, I guess, golf, where you can perform well by yourself, but you're kind of at the mercy of how others perform.
Yeah.
The one-on-one aspect. I guess tennis is kind of like that, too. It's a one-on-one aspect. There's the duel. But yeah, it seems like there is this aspect of things in this movie where, the purity of the boxing is, been lost a bit.
Yeah.
And maybe there's an aspect with playing into that. Because how it starts, you have, Rocky, he's kind of just a club boxer, undercard, and you can tell, he's probably well past his prime, and he's just kind of middling, and he just earns a little bit of money from it, but he also earns money being, being
a heavy for
because he's beat people up.
Yeah, the bookie he works for gets mad at him because he didn't break a guy's thumbs.
Right, he's a bit too nice for it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, the guy he works for is not that mean himself, that he doesn't.
Yeah.
He'd easily find someone else to do his dirty work, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, his driver is more of an asshole than he is.
Yeah. It's like the scene. He goes to the docks and he finds the guy he's supposed to collect from, and he only has a little over half the money that he owes the guy. he takes that, and he's kind of rough with them, and then he's like, no.
Yeah.
And he tries to reason with his boss about, like, oh, he's having a tough time.
Yeah.
But, there's that sense, there's that it carries throughout the movie. Like, yeah, there's the working man of these, cities, like, they fallen on hard times, right?
Yeah.
Like, the promise of the American dream has not fully worked out for them.
No. I mean, they're just trying to catch a break.
And so that's why it's appropriately kind of set, because, after we see that kind of that first, that opening fight with Rocky, or the Italian Stallion, since that's really moniker he goes by when he's in the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Apollo Creed, the heavyweight champion of the world, wants to fight on New Year's Eve?
Yes, no, on New Year's
1975.
New Year's Day.
Yeah, right.
Because it was for the bicentennial, which wouldn't the bicentennial be July 4th?
Right. I guess they just want to kick the year off as a celebration.
But they keep on saying it's a bicentennial fight. But it's a few months early for
6 months to go.
But
they chose the right city, Philadelphia. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's not typically a place where you see like boxing matches. Like Vegas is where you see a lot of them, right? Or if you're going to do it outside of Vegas, you think, do it in New York City, right, or Washington D.C. Right now, with Philly, right? That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Yeah.
So of course, do it in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, he was supposed to have this big fight for the bicentennial on January 1st, 1976.
But his opponent injures his hand.
Yeah, so he can't fight.
Can't fight. And this is, it's what, 5 or 6 weeks out from the New Year's
It's
Day,
5 weeks out. It's 5 weeks out because then they go on to all of the other opponents that they reach out to try to fight. 5 weeks is not enough time for them to train.
Right.
So
and then he gets the idea, how do I get a local contender challenge?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and he's right. And again,
it's not a title fight. It's a publicity stunt.
Right.
It's completely a publicity fight. It's not for any sort of title or anything like that.
He's going to make money off of it.
Yeah.
So the more that he can have the attention on himself, why not?
Yeah. So they're looking through, the files of all the local boxers, and they come across Rocky. And
he likes the name Italian Stallion.
Yes.
That's one of the things that really sticks out.
He likes the name Italian Stallion. And that's really the reason he picked Rocky. Because he was known as the Italian Stallion. So, and then one of his guys points out that, Rocky's a southpaw. You can't trust a southpaw. Southpaw meaning he's left-handed because they're unpredictable in the ring.
And I guess that's true. I don't know. I don't follow boxing.
I don't either. But yeah, I'll take their word for it. But yeah, so Southpaw basically got that name because early on in boxing, there was a left-handed boxer who, when he was standing in the ring, his left hand was facing south.
Yes.
So they call him a southpaw.
Rocky goes through this.
Yeah.
In the skating rink later in the movie.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of the skating rink, just a little aside here, a little, rabbit trail to earlier in the movie. Every day when Rocky would go home, he'd stop by the pet store where Adrian was working because he had a big crush on Adrian, played by Talia Shire. And so he'd go there sometimes in the morning also and flirt with her. And, he'd have a new joke for her every day, trying to make her laugh. It's actually really sweet.
She's very, like I said, very shy, very quiet, a little mousy.
Yeah.
He likes the dog that they have there at the pet shop.
Yeah. But, you could always tell that she looked forward to his visits, even if she wouldn't show it just because she was so shy. But her boss or coworker, or whoever that was, I think it was her manager, would sort of tease her about him. But every day he'd stop by that pet store and visit with Adrian a little bit. But yeah, so back to Apollo. He chose Rocky mostly just because of his name. Yeah. Because he went by the Italian Stallion.
He likes the idea of how the Italian and Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean, discovered America. It all kind of fits within his mind of promoting this fight.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's more about the money for him than the actual fight.
Yeah. And he's positive that any of these local boxers he can take down and, within a couple of rounds.
Yeah, I think he has the idea like he's not going to embarrass them and make it a one-round thing. He'll make sure he gives people a little bit. Wants to give people a little bit of a show and respect them enough.
Yeah, he'll put them down in 3, but
that's one thing I kind of like about the character. I think one of his plays was like, he's a cocky dude, obviously.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's like overly arrogant to an unlikable point.
No, he's not.
Right? You know, he's a likable character.
He's cocky, but he's earned that cockiness.
He has earned that cockiness.
Like,
and it's funny, like the movie itself doesn't get that larger than life until the fight.
Yeah.
When you see how he comes into the ring.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But yeah.
But he doesn't want to completely embarrass the person. He has his motives for it, but he's not going to be someone that. Sometimes when you see kind of like the big guy versus the little guy in these, like, especially like sports movies, the big guys a lot of times are super unlikable.
Yeah.
That's not the case here.
Which, I mean, then also plays into the next few movies, too. That if he was a completely unbearable character in the first movie, you wouldn't want to see him again.
Right. Well, and that's the
subsequent
recent ones, right? You had the Creed series that's kind of come off of it, right?
Yeah, that follows his son.
There was always this respect between Rocky and Apollo.
Yeah.
So, as you said, like, he's kind of in these fights in local Philly fight clubs, right?
And his manager is, the guy that runs the gym that he boxes in is Mickey, played by Burgess Meredith.
But he's kicked him out of his locker.
Yes, he's kicked him out of his locker without telling him. He just showed up to the gym and there's somebody else's lock on his locker.
There's probably a couple dozen guys that are training in this gym. At this point, again, he's a journeyman, and we find out later that doesn't think Rocky ever played up to his potential as a fighter. I think he also seems like he does not like that Rocky has decided to also be like a loan shark. Or enforcer
for the loan shark. Yeah.
No, it's like there's no reason for that. So
yeah, because Mickey's got too much love for the game, or for the ring.
Like Burgess Meredith, he's just such a good actor.
Yes, he is so good in this movie.
It portrays so much in the eyes, like these eyes that you can see. Like there's this sense of him looking back into like the glory days of boxing.
Yeah, I mean he's this tiny little frail old man. But when he talks about back, 40 years ago when he was in the ring, you look at him and if you didn't know better, if you didn't realize it was a movie and he was an actor, then you would believe him, that he was this great boxer back in the day.
So, but then it's not long after that when Rocky gets approached, by the promoter for the fight. How Apollo selected him. So this is, we had that conversation. He has a conversation with Mickey the Gym about why he's kicking him out of his, the locker. And Rocky's like reluctant, right?
Yeah.
He goes down. He goes to this nice office, and
he's like, how am I supposed to fight the heavyweight champion of the world? He's understandably reluctant.
But at the same time, they're offering him like $150,000.
Yeah. Which in 1975 money?
It's a lot of money. 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
1975.
It was the end of 1975, but so he wouldn't be getting paid until 76. But still, the dollar didn't change between November of 75 and January of 76. So
yeah, the 100 is 15,000. I'm going to say 150. That would be $886,000 today.
Wow. Almost $1 million for one fight.
Yeah. And when you see where he lives, right?
Yeah, he lives in a small little studio apartment.
And it's really it's within a row home that's been divided in.
Yeah.
Not a big row home. It's a standard city row home.
Yeah.
That's 2 levels, essentially. I guess, there's a basement also. But it's probably 3 or 4 little studio apartments in this. He lives on the upper floor of it, and probably the back, right? The back room.
But it's a tiny little studio apartment.
In the front part of it, right?
The studio apartment I used to live in was 550 square feet, something like that. And it was bigger than what he lives in.
Yeah. This seems probably about 200 square feet.
Yeah.
There's a bathroom, there's a bed, and enough room for some counters and a table.
Yeah. A small table that he can put his turtle bowl on with his turtle's cuff and link that he bought from Adrian.
But, he's got darts. He's got a little dartboard, on the bathroom door.
Yeah. And he's got a fish also. He's got a fish that he puts down on that table with the turtle so that they can hang out.
And he's got, his poster of Rocky Marciano, right?
Yes.
His boxing hero. But yeah, like, it's interesting because, like, I guess this is after he meets with the pro, or maybe it's before, the night before. But, like, he's just kind of walking home and, like, the corner, and there's a bunch of people that know his name, and they're just all kind of hanging out on the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he talks to them, and he just kind of walks down to the end of the block.
Yeah.
But, apparently, I think that home's still there. It's still not in a, like, very great area of Philadelphia, apparently, looking at it.
Then there's also like, that girl that's hanging out with, with those
it's
guys.
Such a funny scene. He's trying to give her advice.
He's trying to give her advice, and gets her to get away from those guys because they're not gonna
don't use this foul language.
They're bad influences on her. So he walks her home, and and then the next day she's back hanging out with them.
I think the end, basically gives him the finger at the end.
Yep.
But, and again, I think it's another aspect that points towards, like, where that neighborhood has gone, the direction.
Yep.
Right. The blue collar aspect of the city, it's starting to die. It's already dead. And, we talked about Adrian, she lives with her brother who works at a meatpacking plant, right?
Yeah. Paulie.
And, like, I never, we know it's like 5 weeks before the thing because, like, this is even really before they start dating. He's over at their house and she tries to make a turkey.
Well, that was supposed to be their first date.
That's right.
Yeah, because Rocky was talking to Paulie, who's Adrian's brother, and, Rocky and Paulie are friends. And so Rocky's been trying to get Paulie to set him up with Adrian.
That's right.
And so Paulie tells Rocky that, come over on Thanksgiving, have Thanksgiving dinner with her. And
right.
Yeah.
But then Paulie throws out the turkey.
Yeah. Because he neglected to tell Adrian that she had a date. And so Adrian's going on about, I have a turkey in the oven. And so Paulie throws out the turkey so that she can't have the turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. She has to go out with Rocky.
Burt Young plays him so well.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a temper.
Yep.
Doesn't think things through very well. He later wants to get a job as an enforcer for the loan shark too.
Yep. Oh.
But, their first date ends up being at the skating rink, right? And
so Rocky takes her over to the skating rink 10 minutes before they closed. So the guy it was right after they closed because it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So they closed early that day. And so
it's just like the manager's in there and he's just cutting the ice with the Zamboni and making sure things are all right. And
so Rocky talks to him and the guy agrees that, if Rocky pays him $10, they can be out there for 10 minutes.
Rocky kind of lies. He's not well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Says she's sick.
Says that Adrian's sick. And yeah, so out of pity, the manager agrees to, if Rocky pays him $10, they can spend 10 minutes on the ice.
They get skates on Adrian and Rocky doesn't get skates on. So
he just runs next to her. He sort of jogs on the ice right next to her while she's skating.
They just talk.
Yeah. They do a lap or two around the rink.
Not a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and then Rocky takes her back to his house. She doesn't want to go in, but he sort of coaxes her into going in there. She's a proper lady. She doesn't want to, go in and be taken advantage of. And, Rocky, he doesn't, he pushes to get her inside, but once they're inside, he doesn't,
he's very respectful.
He's very respectful. He doesn't push her past her comfort zone.
Yeah.
He tries to, impress her with his muscles and whatnot, but
he's also in a studio apartment that's the size of a shoebox.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's only going so far.
Yeah. But
he
introduces her to his turtles, to Cuff and Link. And yeah, then she reminds him that she sold them to him.
It's a very, I don't know, it's a very natural, scenario, right?
Yeah.
Especially for people that kind of know each other in some tangential way like that.
Yeah.
So, I sold them to you. And eventually they kiss. So.
Yeah. And then, from then on, they're an item.
And, he's over there often. And, there's plenty of scenes where you get Paulie getting upset. But he starts also meeting Polly at the meatpacking place, right? Because there's large freezers full of meat, and that becomes the place where he can kind of train since he doesn't really have a spot in Mickey's gym.
Yeah. So instead of hitting a heavy bag, he hits a slab of beef.
Yeah. And it works.
Yeah. But at first, Polly's, upset with him because, he's breaking the bones. He's breaking the ribs on the meat. But then once the publicity for the fight starts up, Polly's more than happy to let him beat his meat in his locker.
Right. But it takes a while too, right? Because one of the other scenes you see where he starts training and he's jogging, he gets winded quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's definitely out of shape.
And he's a smoker.
He might be strong, but like you said, he's a smoker. He drinks, and he doesn't do heavy duty training, right? And even Paulie, after Adrian and Rocky kind of get set up, right? He wants to be his corner man, right? Because he's thinking, he's thinking his own way about how to make money, right? And so, but he's like, no.
Yeah.
But you had Mickey that comes in after that once he takes it also, and initially Rocky does not want to accept Mickey's help.
No, he doesn't.
Mickey comes to his apartment, a famous little apartment like we've been talking about. And he walks up the steps and he's in there, and eventually Rocky just kind of goes into the bathroom, and Mickey's just talking him through the door. And Mickey leaves, and I don't know, I think about Burgess Meredith again. You can just see this total dejection in him, right? He sees this also a real opportunity for himself, this last kind of hurrah, right? Of real success. He's got other guys that are working for him, but he realizes some of them are talented, but not talented to the degree that they're ever gonna fight quite like what Rocky's having, right? Mm-hmm. The chance of being in that ring for him, he understands that, and Rocky's still hurt because he feels rejected, from using a space in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Then, eventually Mickey leaves, and then Rocky comes down and just starts yelling him down the street as he leaves. So eventually, they'll make up.
But then Mickey will be his corner man.
Yeah.
But and then Paulie continues to try to make money off of Rocky's name, and Rocky's completely fine with it. He says, Paulie can make as much money off of his name as he wants to. He's not going to stop him, which come the later movies ends up not being a very good thing, but in this movie, it's what it is.
There's the scene where they're in the meat packing, and the news is there, the local news, they're there, they want to interview Rocky. Paulie keeps trying to talk to the news, you want to talk to me?
Yep.
It's who are you?
Yep.
And then he's standing in the background, peeking out from behind.
Yeah. Just like a kid who's in the background of the news.
Yep.
Trying to get a screen time.
But eventually, and it's funny though, because after that, Paulie kind of gets jealous, and scene where it's a rough scene where they're at Paulie and Adrian's house, and Rocky and Adrian are just kind of watching something on TV, and Paulie comes home, and then he gets upset with Rocky and starts yelling at him, and then he gets yelling at Adrian because she's lost her virginity, and yeah.
And that's one of those times when you can tell that Adrian is growing as a person too. She's coming out of her shell a little bit because she actually defends herself a little bit.
Yes.
She's not so much of a pushover.
Yeah, no, and she says, you completely rely on me. I cook for you. I teach you all of this. You wouldn't know how to take care of yourself, essentially, is what she's saying. Yeah. If you didn't have me here. But thankfully, they eventually make up. But, Paulie's character is always, an interesting one.
Yep.
And then a little racist, a little sexist.
Little?
But Burt Young plays him so well. He kind of, you like the character well enough, despite some of those flaws.
Yeah.
Especially I think by the time you see him in Rocky Balboa, I think he's a lot of people can at the end of their life. They can see some of the errors of their ways.
Yeah.
And repent for wrongdoing.
Yeah.
That means they have to kind of live with
He really screwed the pooch in Rocky 4, though.
Yes.
Spoilers for Rocky 4.
Dolph Lundgren is in Rocky 4.
Yes, it is. Yes, he is. I must break you.
So during all this, then Rocky just keeps training, and then you get the very famous scene of him running through the city.
Yep, training while Gonna Fly Now is playing.
Yes,
this movie has a good score.
The score.
This movie has a good score. It is a great score.
Score and the original songs to it, iconic. And it's funny because I thought it was the scene there when he's going out the now affectionately called the Rocky Steps, right?
Yeah. Which, I mean, the first time I went to Philly, I ran up those steps. I think everybody does. I think everybody does the first time they run up the steps.
It's kind of funny, it's kind of done like in a montage, though. It's like, it's
a training montage.
And it's funny, it's not done as a real scene.
No,
right?
it's just the end of the montage.
Yeah. And it's become so iconic.
It's just showing that,
the music and then just how it's shot. With the early morning light, and
it's the end of his training, of the training montage, where at the beginning, like you were saying, he got winded real easy.
Yeah. Now,
and so the end of it, he can run through the city, then run up the steps, and he's cheering because he made it through his run.
Yes.
But so it's an iconic shot with him jumping up and cheering at the top of the steps. Mm-hmm. But Bill Conti did the score.
He did not win the Oscar for it, though. Because the movie won 3 Oscars, right? Best Picture, Best Director, Best Film Editing, but did not win Best Song.
It didn't win Screenplay? For some reason, I was thinking it won Best Screenplay.
Yeah, Stallone was nominated for it. Sylvester Stallone has a screenplay
nomination. Yeah, because he wrote this movie. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking he won.
Yeah, no, Network won.
Okay.
What's his name? At H.
I knew it won Best Picture.
The other one that was that year was All the President's Men, but that was adapted screenplay.
Okay.
This was original screenplay. Rocky was the original screenplay, but lost to Network. But The Omen won Best Score.
Okay.
And Rocky was not actually nominated for score. He also had Obsession, All J.C. Wales, Taxi Driver, Voyage of the Damned. And then there was also, at that point, they still had the Best Original Song Score. That wasn't there. Yeah, but best song that year was From a Star Was Born. The theme from A Star Is Born.
Interesting.
But Gonna Fly Now did not win it. Which is interesting because, there's some songs that win Best Song at the Oscars that become such famous songs.
Yeah, I mean, Gonna Fly Now was iconic.
Gonna Fly Now.
Everybody.
Eye of the Tiger is also iconic.
Eye of the Tiger also, but that's not until Rocky 3 and 4.
Yes.
Which, interesting thing, Eye of the Tiger was actually written for Karate Kid.
Yes.
Which came out the same year as Rocky 3. And then they decided to go with You're the Best instead. And so Rocky 3 got Eye of the Tiger.
Well, Bill Conti did both.
Yes.
Both series, Karate Kid and the Rocky.
Karate Kid and Rocky. Yeah.
So, you can see that there. And he won 1 Oscar. He also did For Your Eyes Only, since we were talking about, James Bond.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. But from what I understand, he's one of the least liked composers for Bond.
That's the whole thing.
For Bond movies.
The Bond composed, theme songs, right?
Evidently, his score for Your Eyes Only is completely different than the scores for all the other movies. So, but that doesn't mean he's a bad composer. That doesn't mean he's bad at scoring movies. He did a great job with Rocky. He did a great job with Karate Kid. He did a great job with other stuff that he did. I mean, like we were saying, the score for Rocky is iconic, especially Gonna Fly Now. It's everybody has it in their workout mix.
There's Rocky 3. Rocky 3 nominated for 1 Oscar. Best song, Eye of the Tiger, which was not written by Bill Conti, though.
No.
He wrote the score for the movie, but not write anything with the song.
Survivor wrote Eye of the Tiger.
So,
and performed it.
Anyway, back to Rocky. So, you had the Rocky step montage with Gonna Fly Now. And then, meanwhile, all this is going on. Apollo is still working on kind of promoting the fight. He's not really that concerned with training for the fight. He's keeping himself in shape, obviously.
Yeah, but he's not concerned about it because, he's confident that he's going to drop Rocky in round 3.
Yeah. So you have Adrian and Rocky there. This is like the night before fight, and then Rocky kind of sneaks out during the middle of the night, and he wants to go to the Spectrum, right? So the time would have been where, it was the Flyers and the Sixers would have played their games, right? It's the indoor arena, long since been replaced. But, he's feeling nervous about the fight, naturally.
Yeah, he gets up, he climbs into the ring, and he's sort of looking around and
he's looking up at
thinking about what's going to happen.
Both of them, right? This is the first time, like one of the few times in the movie. Again, we're talking, most of the movie, talked about before, like it's got this gritty nature to it, right? There's the docks.
Yeah.
There's the crummy apartment. There's a meatpacking plant, right? There's a boxing club gym that's not that glamorous, right?
And
now we're like in this nice, you're in dive bars, right?
Yeah.
And now you're like in this arena with this really nice boxing ring and
they can sit thousands of people, and
it's the first time. One of the first times you really kind of see that huge contrast.
Yeah, it's all hitting him.
Yeah.
the gravity of the situation is hitting him, and he's going up against this world champion boxer who has never been knocked down.
Right. No. I mean,
that's one of the big things about Apollo is he has never been knocked off his feet in the ring. He's undefeated, never been knocked down. It's the David and Goliath situation, And so he's decided that he's not going to try to win. He's just trying to go the distance. He's trying to go all 15 rounds.
Yes.
Because he figures if he can last all 15 rounds against Apollo Creed, he can do anything. So he's not even concerned about winning. He just wants to last the entire fight.
It's even interesting to see then that demonstration of his own build-up of confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to this guy that didn't want to fight at first, that was content just to do some pub fights and not be a particularly good loan shark enforcer, right? A collector, right?
Yeah.
Being perfectly mediocre in a lot of different ways. But he was brave enough to actually end up going out Adrian, right? And continuing that. So, it's both of them.
Yeah, they helped each other.
Encouraging, right? Like she gives him the dog too, right?
He's got the dog that he would always go and play with at the pet store. She brought him home.
So he goes to the Spectrum, begins to lose confidence, and then he goes back to Adrian. He just says, I was determined to go the distance.
Mm-hmm. And when he was standing in the ring, his big concern was that his shorts on the banner were the wrong color. Because he was going to be wearing white shorts with a red stripe, but the banner had him wearing red shorts with a white stripe.
And the people, out there, the upper, the nosebleed of the arena are going to look at this anyway. But, it's such a small detail, right? But, it's little things like that make the movie really...
And also, you kind of understand his concern about the people in the nosebleeds seeing the banner and seeing the wrong color, because all he can afford to do if he was at a fight like that was sit in the nosebleeds. So
he's not sitting courtside, ringside.
He's thinking of the people like him who are at the fight. He wants to be able to. He wants to be able to have them see an accurate portrayal of what's going on in the ring.
Yeah, no, there's a pride that he has. Like, there's a pride to, Adrian, what she has, right? I always kind of think, I like the wardrobe they picked for her, right? It's like, again, I can't imagine she and Paulie have that much money, but what they have together, she's able to get herself a nice coat, nice hat for the Billy winter, and to at least be able to have something respectable like that.
Yeah.
Do they really, I don't know if they ever get that much into their backstory about, their family background. Parents.
No, they don't. I don't think so. I don't think they do in later movies either.
Yeah, they live together.
Again, I'm kind of spotty on the other movies except Rocky IV. Right. So if we're wrong and they go into Adrian and Paulie's family background,
Rocky aficionados out there,
let us know.
Some people can tell you the entire backstories of any character from Star Wars or Star Trek or Lord of the Rings. And maybe you're one of those Rocky aficionados that knows the backstory of the bartender at the dive bar that Rocky goes to.
I mean, we are lovers of movies, but that doesn't mean that we know every bit of information about every movie.
We might even have...
There are some movies that we are damn near experts about, but, in the grand scheme of things, that's few and far between. So,
yes. So, Good New Year's Day. Now it's the fight. Adrian's there. And the mob boss is there. The lone star, right? What? Is Paulie there? Paulie listening. Paulie's there, right?
Yeah, Paulie's there.
You know, we cut back to the bar, right? And, you know, obviously Apollo comes in first. And I love that he's dressed as George Washington.
Yeah. No, Rocky comes in first. Rocky comes in first.
Is he going first?
Rocky comes in first because he's got an ad for Paulie's.
Right, because they're asking about what it is, and it's the ad for the meatpacking plant.
Yeah, on the back of his robe. And so Rocky goes out there, and then once Rocky gets in the ring, then Apollo comes out dressed as George Washington.
Which, you know, you got
on a boat,
right?
Dressed as George Washington crossing the Delaware. On a big fake boat.
You know, yeah, lean into it, right?
Yeah. And then he takes off the George Washington
did not sign the Declaration of Independence.
No, he didn't. But yeah,
so
then
the General of the Continental Army.
Yep. And then the first president. But yeah, so after he comes in looking like George Washington, then he takes off the George Washington stuff and he's dressed as Uncle Sam. And that's how he gets into the ring. He's got the big red, white, and blue top hat and jacket and his flag shorts.
It's perfect though, because like most of this movie is not over the top, and then you have that.
So you have that. It's just great.
But it's perfect. It's not out of place. It's perfect. You completely expect it. It's such a contrast to Rocky's classic boxing robe.
Yeah, he has this humble entrance, and then you have the world heavyweight champion coming in flaunting his,
by the way,
his status.
Whoever manages that meatpacking plant, I ought to give a lot of respect to Paulie to have the idea to have
to put his ad on there.
Yeah, and Rocky didn't get paid for that, right? I think he just allowed him to wear it.
Yeah.
Like they paid for the robe and that was it.
Yeah, they paid for the robe because they were putting their ad on it. And then because there was the whole thing earlier when they were telling Rocky that Paulie's trying to make money off his name, and he's like, let him make as much as he wants off it.
Probably actually a decent salesman. Yeah, he actually cut down the temper a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got some good ideas up there.
Yeah.
So. It's kind of funny thinking about it now, like, because the commentators and the announcers, like, they're trying to read Rocky's coat and thinking about it now. It's like, oh yeah, like it's thinking about how fights are today, full sports spectacles.
Yeah,
it could even be a thing back then.
Yeah, and so they fight starts and Apollo's just pounding on Rocky. Rocky is swinging, but he's not hitting, he's not connecting at all. Apollo's too quick for him, and so he's just laying into Rocky, but he's taking it. Rocky's taking every hit. He's blocking what he can, but the ones that connect, he's taking them like a champ. And then eventually Rocky gets one good hit and knocks Apollo off his feet, knocks him on his ass. And that's when Apollo
finds him off his guard, overconfident.
That's when Apollo realizes that he might actually have to work for this.
And like it stuns the announcers and everybody else because like we said earlier, like he's never been knocked out.
Yeah.
And that's like the end of the first round. Paul's able to get up, off the mat. And now he knows like you said, he's gonna have to take everything more seriously.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great that it was Rocky's first hit.
Yes.
Like the first time he punched Apollo and knocked Apollo off his feet.
And
I guess that's what happens after he's been beating his meat for 5 weeks.
Oh boy. And then the fight just continues on, right? You get shots of both getting their good shots in, both of them struggling at points, right?
Yeah.
There's times where both of them feel like looks like one might get the upper hand and then not get the upper hand.
So it sort of goes through a little montage of the different rounds. At one point, Rocky gets knocked down for almost a 10 count, but he gets back up. And like everyone's just telling him to stay down. Mm-hmm. But he's determined. He's determined. He's going to make it to the end.
there's a point in Apollo's like, oh my, we gotta keep doing this because he realizes he's gonna have to fight for his life. He doesn't want to obviously kill Rocky.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to lose. His balance. You can kind of see it in his face because he sees that Rocky is determined to see this entire thing out.
Yeah. So, Apollo's realizing that he needs to step up his game, and
Rocky ends up breaking one of Apollo's ribs at some point.
Mm-hmm.
He's struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
And then,
Rocky gets his eye starts getting swollen
eye, and the cut above the eye, right, where you only see on one eye now.
So, they cut the swelling so that, he can see out of that eye. And, it gets into round 15, the final round, and they keep going until the time runs out, and it's got to go to the judge's decision on who won.
Yep, and it's a split decision.
Yeah, it's a split decision.
And which means that technically, because even though it was an exhibition, since Apollo was the title holder, he retains the title. So,
yeah. So technically,
is the victor.
Yeah. So technically, Rocky lost.
Yes.
This was a sports movie where the hero lost. Technically,
but he gained what he wanted.
Exactly. That's where the whole thing is.
Attention. What's good about it is he's not even paying attention to what they're saying.
No.
Because he just wants to find Adrian.
Yeah. They ask him what he wants now, and he just starts yelling Adrian. He starts yelling for her, and Adrian, she comes running in from
through the crowd.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then she
get up to the ring.
She gets up to the ring and
embrace. And even Rocky and Apollo, they embraced also at the end of the
Yeah.
They say this is going to be a rematch. Right? Spoiler alert, it's not true.
Yep. Yeah, there's still more movies.
That's Rocky 2.
Yes, that's Rocky 2. Which we might do someday on the podcast. Not next, but we might do it someday.
But yeah, so yeah. And then, they embrace, and that's the movie at the end. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it ends right there. I enjoyed it. Every time I watch it, I enjoy it. Just because we're not super fans of Rocky doesn't mean that we don't enjoy watching it from time to time.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a well done movie. Again, I love the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
And Stallone's great in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of really, at the beginning, you asked about what movie you think about Stallone, I was jokingly saying Rambo, and some people might kind of say that.
Yeah.
Rambo and Rocky are kind of his two characters that most people associate him with, Sorry for the Judge Dredd fans out there.
Or the Demolition Man fan.
Or Cliffhanger. I love Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger's a great
Stop
movie.
or my mom will shoot. Cliffhanger has over the top. If you want a good arm wrestling movie, watch Over the Top.
Yeah.
Where he cheats in every match he's in. Because going over the top is very much cheating.
Yeah. Cliffhanger is the one that's really good. Anyway,
John Lithgow is the villain in that one.
Yes, he is. Which is crazy. John Lithgow's a villain.
But it happens.
Villain you might expect him to be cerebral, but
John Lithgow was a villain in Dexter.
Yes. Well, that's more the villain where you might expect him to be.
True.
A villain.
True.
Like an actioner, maybe not. Anyway, maybe we'll do Cliffhanger at one point. But anyway, what I love about Cliffhanger is just the beginning of Cliffhanger is great.
Yep.
Woman plummets to her death.
Although
the Rocky Mountains.
Another Stallone movie we didn't mention, Daylight.
Oh yeah, Daylight. Rocky's obviously, though, not obviously, but Rocky's the role he's really meant for.
Yeah.
And he wrote the screenplay for it too, so his mind is in there with the character.
Yeah.
So
he was excellent in this movie. He was excellent in it.
Oh, The Specialist. How did I forget about The Specialist?
Oh yeah. Escape Plan. And I mean, of course, there's the Expendables movies.
Yeah, but it's kind of all the characters in the one.
Yeah.
But that's the way I look at most of those expendable characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Copland.
Yes, Copland.
There's Driven, which right. So yeah. Oh well, and recently Guardians.
Yes, Guardians 2 and 3.
So I like him in the Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rocky is he's synonymous with Rocky.
Yeah.
You hear Rocky, you think Stallone.
Yep.
It's hard to separate them out. It's funny, like even when I saw Rocky Balboa, I mean that movie's almost 20 years old at this point. Easy to think about.
Yeah.
He was so terrific in it. And no, I was thinking of Rocky. I was thinking about he was good in that, but it was the first Creed movie where he's training Creed.
Yeah.
He's just so terrific in that movie. We got nominated again for that, for Best Supporting Actor. So he's one of the. I would need to look into it. I think he's one of the few people to be nominated twice for the same role in different movies. Okay. Al Pacino was nominated for Michael Corleone in multiple movies, and then maybe someone else is in there. But yeah, like he's the two of them. And I think there might be one or two other actors or actresses that have been able to accomplish it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, those movies are 40 years apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he just whenever he gets into that role, he knows how to do it. And again, there's some people that it's like their favorite movie or favorite film series, and that's excellent. More power to you. I understand, and it's funny, like that each of the characters, each of the fighters, they kind of become part of the cultural lexicon, right?
They do. Yeah. So if you absolutely love Rocky, then we're doing this for you. Because
we love Carl Weathers.
Yeah. We do. Yeah, Carl Weathers is an amazing actor. He was great in everything he was in.
And, Apollo Creed's the first, his first big role and one of his most iconic roles, one of his 2 or 3 most iconic roles.
Yeah, so when he passed away a few weeks ago, and, we were trying to figure out what movie we wanted to do next, and we thought, well, why not do something with Carl Weathers?
Mm-hmm. And we have done a whole lot we've done Star Wars, right? And have done a lot of movies in the 70s, so.
Yeah, so yeah, it was either Rocky. Yeah, that's one of the main things that we chose Rocky over Predator because we hadn't done much from the 70s. And because, he spoiler alert for Predator, he survives all the way through Rocky. The first Rocky.
Which is, again, Predator, see the scene, where they're greeting each other in Predator, oh, this happy now, they all die. They almost all die.
Yep. So
Rocky has a happy ending.
Yep. So yeah, that's Rocky. Got anything else you want to say, Tony?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we said it all. At least all that's on our mind at the moment. But yeah, so we are going to stick to the 70s a little bit longer for the next movie. This one was 76. We're going to move up a couple of years to 78. And we are going to do Superman the movie. Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman,
Ned Beatty, Marlon Brando.
Yes, Terrence Stamp.
There's so much to say about it because, Terrence Stamp, and such a brief prologue, but anyway, it's Superman the movie.
Yes, Superman the movie.
TV series, or it's the movie.
Yeah, directed by Richard
Donner. You will
Donner.
believe a man will fly.
Yes, you will believe a man can fly.
There's a lot more we can say about it, but we'll wait until that episode.
So
another 70s movie that has a very 70s aesthetic. We'll touch more on that.
Yes, we will. So yeah, if you want to connect with us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. Those are all Rob and Tony Cinematic Adventure. It's all spelled out. The and is not an ampersand like it is in the title of the show, but it is spelled out A&D. So Rob and Tony Cinematic Adventure. We are also on Twitter or X, and that is R&T Cinematic. And we are on Letterboxd. That is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, however you want to pronounce that, but it's CINE Adventure.
I need to update that one. I've been kind of on not big, but maybe a fast in some ways, and so I've noticed some of I let that part slip through a bit. So
I've noticed Letterboxd hasn't really been updated in a while, so
I need to do that.
But yeah,
I got 2 more weeks. It's been a 3-month fast, and so
okay. And then also, if you want to send us an email, Rob and Tony Cinematic Adventure @gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. We are available on just about every major podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Casts, Deezer is one of them, TuneIn Radio. We're on a bunch of them. So, yeah, I'm sure
TikTok.
We're not on TikTok. We're not on TikTok, but yeah. So if you listen to us on Google Podcasts and you're looking for somewhere to find us after Google Podcasts closes down their service, there are plenty of other options. So chances are whatever one you switch over to will be on, hopefully. But if not, then it won't be hard to find one that we are on. So
correct.
So anyway, I hope you have been enjoying our podcast. We love that you're listening, and go ahead, leave us a good review. That's leave us a 5-star review if you feel like we deserve a 5-star review. And the reviews are how we move up in the standings and move up in the search and stuff like
reviews, that. Likes, comments, and tell us your favorite Rocky movie if you have a favorite Rocky movie.
Yeah, or just tell us your favorite movie.
Not discuss all of them, right?
Yeah, if you have suggestions for movies you think we should do on this podcast, let us know.
If there's actors or actresses that we haven't really touched on that you want to see us talk about, suggest a movie, go ahead. Especially newer movies. I think about what newer movies do you want us to talk about?
Yeah,
movies that 5, 10, 15 years from now, when they're a little bit older, they're gonna stick in your mind still.
Yeah. Admittedly, a lot of our movies that we've been doing so far are, 20, 30 years old or older. But that's because, they're the movies that we grew up with. They're the movies that we have always loved. And so we want to know what movies you love. We want to know what movies you want to hear us talk about. So, yeah, let us know. But anyway, we will see you next time for some Superman the movie.